Yes, everyone, the return of the podcast, the return of David and Jack to some actual Spurs content. We were taking some time off. Spurs have been taking some time off. We've been enjoying the World Cup, as I imagine you all have as well. Dave, it's good to have you back. And we have a good topic to really get into, maybe what you've been up to, what you've been thinking about Spurs-wise, and what maybe Conte's been thinking about. But just quickly, Dave, good to see you. How are we?
Yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing, Jack. Refreshed, refined, and can't wait to get back into it. Now, I'll be honest. Look, when Tottenham's after that Leeds game, I was so ready just to have a bit of a break. It's like Tottenham are absolutely doing my nut in. It's down here, up here. I can't take it anymore. I need a little time off to refocus, get the heart ticking over nice and smoothly again, and come back into it. But then 3-4 days later, Jack, I found myself sitting there twiddling my thumbs, a bit bored. Oh. I'm just like, when's the pain coming back? I need that pain in my life. When's Tottenham coming back? So, yeah, I'm good now. I'm good, though. Look, break's gone on a little bit longer than what's expected, but look, there's nothing out there at the minute. There's nothing to talk about. No Spurs news and whatever else is out there. It's kind of like it's just feeling the time till the World Cup's over, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Dave, when it comes to that needed break, but also perhaps maybe being a bit longer than what we anticipated and what we actually realized. Who knows? A month and a half can be a lot longer than some people might think. But somebody who also might be enjoying his break, perhaps even more so than we have, Dave, is a certain Antonio Conte. And I'm just going to get straight into this, everybody. So if you are watching this via the YouTube, do smash that like button. But I also encourage you to check it out on Spotify, Amazon, etc., all the podcast platforms, in case that's any easier for you. Also, just maybe in case, just show some support on the other platforms as well for the Irish Hotspur. But Conte's needed time to recuperate. I imagine after that Leeds game as well, Dave, he was probably feeling the same way you were, just a bit sort of like, geez, got away with that one. Feeling like, I can finally take a breath, take some time off, because let's be honest, October was rough for everybody. It was 3 games or what was it, 3 games a week, or it felt like a game every 3 days, whatever that metric was for Spurs. It was hectic. It was hard. So many injuries as well. It was already going to be tough as it is, I think, with a full squad and with a fully healthy, fit and firing squad. But the fact that we had to deal with it with so many players, with injuries, so many players also out of form, I think, too, it really was not going to be pretty. And somehow, some way, Spurs got out of there. It felt like, in a way, actually, all in one piece, because we still find ourselves in 4th. We find ourselves in the Champions League. So sort of now in retrospect, if you kind of remove yourself from this whole situation here, you do kind of find that maybe Conte did a semblance of a job to actually get himself in a position where maybe now, while he's probably up in the Swiss Alps with his family, watching his daughter ski, Dave, and he's just sitting with the missus, having some espressos, perhaps maybe some hors d'oeuvres and some, aperitifs later in the evening up in, the Italian Alps and all that. Maybe he's kind of looking back on Spurs and he's like, you know what, I was probably getting a bit dramatic. Wasn't really all that bad. And maybe he's also like you, Dave, kind of maybe itching to start thinking about Spurs again, start thinking about his tactics, how to maybe go about the rest of the season, knowing he'll have some players back, knowing he doesn't have so many injuries anymore. So really what I'm trying to kind of bring up here, Dave, and maybe what I'm going to ask you here finally is, do you feel like maybe Conte is enjoying his time off, but also in a kind of a productive way, if you know what I mean, like a way for him to sort of reassess his mind? I know you like that too, David, time to sort of withdraw yourself from everything, sort of bird's eye view on the whole situation. Do you think Conte might be doing that?
100%, Jack. He's a winner, and that's what winners do. They might switch off for maybe a day or two, but then they're straight back thinking. And it all starts with, maybe what about if I just adapted this position slightly? And then it moves on to the broader shape. Trust me, this guy would have been thinking and working in the background. I mean, I'd say it's refreshing that he can sit there and look at his misses rather than sitting there looking at Emerson or Doherty pissing him off at the right wing back situation. So I'd say he's absolutely buzzing, Jack. Absolutely buzzing.
He probably actually found out their vacation plans and just said, wherever they're going, I'm going to the opposite continent, I imagine, Dave. But you're exactly right. Exactly right.
Honestly, I'd say he's sitting there, few Negronis, Jack, some carbonara, a few espressos to wash it down. I'd say he's absolutely loving life. The Italian coffee, it's better than the coffee over in England and over here in Ireland. So I'd say he's absolutely living it up. But I do hope that he's used this time, Jack, to kind of, in his own mind, away from like Paratici and Levy and everything else, in his own mind, kind of get his own vision of where he wants to take this going forward. Does he want to keep persisting with the problems at right wing back, or does he just say, look, gotta go? And if you're not going to go, Jed Spence coming in here, or maybe you've got that wrong, I'm going to give the kid a go. Does he keep Gill around? Does he not? Does he play a three in midfield with two up top? Look, Sonny, he hasn't turned up at the World Cup either. He's been pretty dismal so far this season. Look, Harry Kane hasn't been. Do you know what, Jack? Actually, I do want to speak about something today, and we'll speak about it at the end because I know I'm just after springing this upon you. But I want to talk a little bit about Harry Kane near the end. When I look at him, I don't think the guy is getting into goal scoring positions as much as he used to. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, maybe it's people not creating stuff for Kane, but like, even when I look at him for England, at times when I look at him from Tottenham, the ball's out wide in good areas and he's sitting back. He's not really in the box on the end of things. So I wonder, is Conte going to find a way of getting Kane back into, even though he's got a good record, 11 goals so far this season, even though he's got a decent goal scoring return, I wonder will Conte look at maybe keeping him in and around the box now rather than being the creator now that Kulu's back. There's a lot of different things that Conte could be looking at. Could he surprise us all together, switch to a back four? We just say, look, I've had enough of moon boots. I know Dave and Jack have too, so we're going to remove him out of the team. We're going to go with Lenglet and Romero in a back four. Look, I wouldn't say expect it because I don't think Conte is the sort of type that'll just go boom, new Conte back four. This is the way we're going to play it. But I do hope that he has used the time to assess the squad, look at it, see what he needs gone, what he thinks he needs to loan out, and then also plotting where he can bring in players in certain positions, like we done last January, where we brought in Kulu and Bentico, where you've identified them in the right positions and hit the ground running, which therefore will only make for a better Tottenham Hotspur. So, but I will say as well, I do think this has come at the right time for him, because I think if we didn't get this break and the games just kept on going and going and going and going, I think he would have suffered burnout. I think he might have reassessed this situation at Tottenham, like, oh, I don't know if I could be cut out for this over a 38 game stretch. It's a lot to take on when I'm not getting what I want or what I need. I understand there's a process. I wasn't going to get everything I needed, but I also didn't think some of the shit that was here was that shit before I got here. But now that I'm here, it's costly, and I'm starting to be put in the same brackets as Nuno. I mean, it's kind of like, so I do think that this has come at the right time for him, where hopefully now he can relax, come back, new fresh ideas, but also fresh sort of, what's the right way of putting it? Not persona, but just
fresh perspective. Fresh perspective on the whole situation.
Not tetchy. Just come back fresh, calm, relaxed, and just take it on and push ourselves for the second half of the season.
I'm totally with you there. And I think you sort of look at Spurs. I know we don't like to describe it this way, but it is an accurate way to describe Spurs. Sometimes you have to stomach the situation with Spurs. And I think Antonio Conte, Dave, has probably had to stomach a few situations with this football club. And when you're sort of taking that time off and he gets this sort of time to recuperate, as the sort of subject says here, I imagine he then goes back into Spurs, probably maybe with a stronger stomach than he had before. Towards the end of it, he started probably getting plenty sick of everything that was going on. Now he gets some time off, and I think everybody deserved it. I think yourself, Dave, I think I deserved it as well. I'm not even sure the last time we had a week off, maybe even right before the season, at least for myself. And then we were just going fit and firing every week. No injuries on my part, and being able to get all the way through. I think Antonio Conte, yourself, and myself, Dave, we all needed a bit of time to recuperate. And we're back here with a fresh perspective.
A bit disappointed we didn't get any of them paddleboard Conte memes. Remember the ones we got last summer? Conte on the paddleboard out in the middle of the sea. I'm disappointed we didn't get any of them. You might even, actually, Jack, you might get your wish. Him flying down the Alps in some tighty whiteys. You never know, Jacko.
I just hope that I get to see him on the Alps one day, Dave, and I can buy him that espresso that I was talking about.
All
But
you
let's
see is his wheat coming down the mountain.
exactly. But enough chit chatting about recuperation. Let's talk about maybe an old topic here that has sort of come up, and it's an interesting one because I think often everybody we do kind of like to save sort of the best topics, right, for these debate shows that we have with the amazing Joracle, the likes of Ben and Sim, Sean, of course, the absolute genius of Sean, Brian
Mm,
Daigle too, and Philip Brady, the Godfather, legendary. And we do try to have good debate topics say for them. And something that maybe I really thought was a juicy one, Dave, that we didn't exactly get to
yeah,
touch on was this quote from Ali Gold that I actually picked up from one of his brilliant YouTube streams, and sort of kind of maybe talking about the transfer strategy of January for Tottenham Hotspur. And I think it's an interesting one because it sort of maybe would probably trigger a few people when it comes to how we maybe went about it in the summer. It also maybe puts some perspective about how maybe Spurs are kind of looking at their transfer strategy and all that sort of thing. So I thought maybe if everybody during this World Cup break, while we're kind of looking for topics to say, we're not going to just flood you with kind of nonsense or just make up, let's say, something to talk about. This is something that was actually on kind of the banks of the Google document that David and I shared that we actually
mm,
didn't get to touch on yet. So, Dave,
yeah,
here it is. Ali Gold said Tottenham will focus purely on improving the quality of the squad in January after the summer was more about quantity. I find this interesting, Dave, because it was sort of that balance of a situation in the summer where, yes, we probably could have blown the whole budget on a Sergei Milinkovic-Savic or like something like that, but then we would have ignored a lot of problem
mm,
areas that did need addressing. And still to this day, we find ourselves probably looking at that squad and still needing probably more quantity, maybe instead of quality. We just need more players in. I think center back is maybe a
yeah,
good one. But let's be honest here, Dave. I find it that Spurs didn't exactly achieve this. I think they did improve the quantity heavily, and I think they did do a really good crack at it. And they did make a big deal of it. Of course, they plugged themselves and hyped themselves up with the 6 signings and everything like
mm,
that. They did make big promotions of it. So it's almost kind of consistent, right? That Ali Gold sort of said this, that Spurs would be looking at quantity because it was almost like their own PR over the summer was kind of, reflecting
yeah,
that with how much they were identifying the quantity aspect. And I find it that while I want to sort of criticize them for like maybe not going after more quality, let's be honest, they needed a lot of players in there. We were dealing with Harry Winks as the backup midfielder in case Rodrigo Bentancur was hurt because we knew that Skip wasn't reliable at the time. We basically played without Skip for the rest of the season after his injury, if people needed to be reminded. So that did mean then, Dave, unless we wanted to deal with Harry Winks any longer, we needed an Yves
yeah,
Bissouma. And also an Yves Bissouma, now when you put it in that sort of context, I think, right, when it comes to like, in case Skip is injured, who's the
yeah,
next guy? It's Harry Winks again. And people probably
mm,
continue to forget that. And so now that we have an Yves Bissouma, probably people might not criticize that signing as much as they may have, or as much as they may are now, or whatever it may be. You also look at the likes of Richarlison. I remember plenty of times, Dave, we had people ask, what do you want in the summer? And you, Dave, said center back. I need the center back to improve. I need the defense to improve. Other people had the perspective like, I'm tired of seeing only Harry Kane as the only number
mm,
9 in the
mm,
entire list. And that is a valid opinion. That's a valid, I think,
yeah.
sort of
You need
a
both.
fear with Spurs. There was no other number 9. It was either Sonny
Mm,
or Harry Kane. And people pointed that out. It's like, how can your two best players be the substitute for one another? Like, that doesn't
mm,
really like make any sense. And I think there is some truth behind that too. So we had to get a real number 9. What did Spurs do, Dave? They classily went after a Brazilian number 9 in the case of Richarlison. And I know he's struggling on the wing. I know he struggles with staying on side, but we know when you put that man up top,
yeah,
he is probably a quality backup in case something, worst case scenario were to happen to Harry Kane. Also, best case scenario, you want to rest Harry Kane and you still want there to be a real threat up top. You still want there to be a real focal point that you can use. Richarlison has been absolutely
mm,
brilliant for Brazil, showing that he has that quality as a true striker, as a true number 9. Felt like Spurs achieved that target. You look in other areas as well with the signing of Longley as kind of that extra left-sided center back. I think that was absolutely needed. We probably look at that as maybe also one of the areas that maybe they didn't do enough actually on the quantity aspect, because they could have gotten another center back. It didn't need to be another kind of brilliant center back. But maybe this is where I bring you in here, Dave. Enough blabbering from me, because I think this should be a good
I was
debate
enjoying
between
that.
ourselves. But no, this is where I let you in, maybe, and then I'll probably take over again. But Longley was part of the quantity. We achieved that, right? Check mark on Longley as a quantity. You and I found ourselves debating they still need another center back. We both agreed they needed another center back. But a long time ago, you were kind of saying, I want a Bastoni, Jack. I'm willing to hold out for a Bastoni or Gavardio. And I was like, Dave, like, I feel like we need just something. Like, we need an Indica, and maybe I'll settle for less. I'll settle for something. Like I even said, I went as far as the hipster Ukrainian choice of Zerbarnia. I was like, I'll take it. I said, I'll take Kim Min Jae. I'll take everything out there as that. So almost maybe how I looked at it was, I was maybe fully quantity, and you were like, Jack, you need to balance it out with a bit of quality. Put yourself in this situation, Dave. Like you said, you still wanted a second center back, so we both can agree on that. We still wanted that second center back. But maybe now, with the benefit of hindsight, would you have taken a Zerbarni? Would you have taken, maybe more of a risk of it? And also, just to let you in on this whole Ali Gold quote in general.
Would I have taken more of a risk? I don't think so, Jack, to be honest with you. Because like we brought Roden in from the Championship, already used to English football, you know what I mean? Never worked out. And yeah, people could say he never got his minutes, but if he's not putting in the goods in the training ground, and they obviously don't think he's good enough in the training ground, why would they put him out in a Premier League match or, and stuff like that? It's kind of like with that back line, I've had to suffer for 3 years. Really, really badly, by the way. Really badly. I mean, look, not just me, everybody, but it gets to me a lot more because I just don't rate it.
Because you've been harping on about it for so long. It probably hurts each and every time you have to do it.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, I'm at the point now where in order for us to get garner any sort of success, or get back to the levels where we were at under Poch, where you're putting your name in the ring for success, you've got to have a really good, strong back line that knows how to play a ball, but most importantly, keep goals out of the net, not give away stupid mistakes, not panic every time someone presses them or someone's running around them, doesn't switch off. Where they're sort of hard on every week, or their goal every week is just that last minute tackle, staying switched on for 90 minutes. Someone that just enjoys defending, someone that enjoys being the spoilsport. We don't have players like that. We have players that want to play their part in being the spoilsport to us fans. But look, I said this last summer, Jack, or actually I said it last January. I got to the point where the shit I was watching on the field, from bar maybe Kane and Son, and maybe Højbjerg, up until last January, got to the point where I'm watching guys that can't control the ball, can't pass a ball, zero technical ability, can't shoot, switch off, not arse tracking runners, didn't care what they were doing in a Tottenham jersey. And I got to the point, and I said this to everybody, at some stage we have to wipe the slate clean and rebuild. We have to rebuild. Last January, look, famously, I got ridiculed for my opinions, and I absolutely pulled apart. And I said, look, it's fine. We're going to go big in the summer. We're going to get more quantity in. And then after that, then you should be looking at quality to sprinkle. And the reason why I said that, Jack, is because, look, you probably would have kept Lloris, Højbjerg, Kane, Son, Skip. The rest I wanted gone. And then when we brought in Kulu and Bentancur, I seen this sort of shift in momentum. I'm like, they've identified two positions of quality players coming in here, technical ability, and it got us to top four. Then last summer, I said, look, we need to fill this squad out. But what we can't do is fill it out to a point where we had it under Steve Hitchen, where you're having clicks. Players not good enough to be here, this, that, and the other. And when I look at the players we brought in here in this summer, I don't look at them and say none of them are good enough to be here. I think you'll see the very best of Richarlison when he does play up front. Like, I understand why we got Richarlison. Like you said, Jack, he's a big guy. He can hold it up front. He got good hold-up play, scores goals. But I also think they looked at the mobility of him and said, okay, well, if we do pick up an injury,
that's an alternative.
He can fill in on the left. He can fill in on the right. Now, subsequently this season, we've had problems with Son and with Kulu, and he's had to play there.
And a lot's been asked of him.
And he just, it's not his role. It's clear that he's a striker, but at the end of the day, we needed a backup striker in here. You know, we needed someone that you could rotate with Kane, because we tried bringing in Vinicius on loan. By the way, you know, the clause was 30 million in the summer if we're happy with him. I mean, what kind of deal is that? You know, we had to rent it for a long period of time, but it's good to see that we have someone that can actually challenge. I wouldn't say he's on the level to challenge Kane, but someone where you look at him and say,
I feel he just challenged the opposition. That's what I kind of meant earlier.
yeah,
Like a guy that could act. It doesn't. No way can he ever challenge to
but
Harry Kane's
also,
levels. But a guy that can still strike fear into the opposition in case Harry Kane were missing. You don't want them to go like, whew, Harry Kane's missing. Carlos Vinicius is up today. Who wants drinks? Drinks on me, boys. You know, in the
yeah,
back line. You know, they're
yeah.
probably already celebrating the clean sheet. They're already celebrating the win. Richarlison as the alternative, they're not doing that, Dave. Like they're thinking, wow, this guy could probably score a bike on us, or this guy, you know, could go on a surging run, or, you know, just fly over us with a header and, you know, and everything. Right.
But you know what, Jack? What I was more happy about when we got in Richarlison, and when I think back to what the end of the season before, the end of last season, the likes of Brentford, the likes of Brighton, where it was clear they wanted us to go out wide. We couldn't get out wide. And the game was there. Beat your wing back, put the ball in the box, have someone in there to go and attack it. So I said, well, Charleston coming in here, nice one, that'll do. But unfortunately, our wing backs are still shit, still don't look like taking on anybody. But look, so we got the backup striker done. I was happy with that. Moving into the midfield. Now, look, we could have went and spent 100, 120 million on Milinkovic-Savic. But then you're neglecting other areas of the pitch where we actually needed to do business. This song was all about filling it out. So you bring in Basuma. Again, another Premier League player, has played in the Premier League. No time. Doesn't need time to adapt. Just slots in. Now, yeah, look, when you go to a new club, there's always adapting to their tactics, their style of play, this, that, and the other. But the point is they know what's commanded them in the Premier League and stuff like that. So you're not looking at them getting up to pace. Brought in Paratici in here in the free. I thought it was a good bit of business. Thank God we brought him in, actually, because if I have to watch Ryan Sessegnon any longer, I'm gonna cry. You know,
speaks more to the quantity than if you had to add Parasic. Yeah.
Jack, a guy that used to be a winger that can't cross a ball, right? Imagine that. But also a guy that's an attacking player but can't use both feet. I mean, it's absolutely madness. I thought the minimum requirements to be a professional footballer is someone that should be able to use both feet, especially with the talent from it. It's just crazy anyway. But Perisic has 8 assists, so thank God he's come in, assists from corner kicks and that. He's really helped us out in that department. Look, Forster coming in for Galini. Galini, we've seen in the cup game against Morecambe, against Chelsea, couldn't deal with corner kicks, got caught underneath a couple of them. Bon Voyage wasn't good enough. Get him gone on. Bring in
and he's looking better than Lloris at the moment, which is also sort of like, it makes even the Galini thing put into more perspective, right? Whereas like, even when Galini came in for Lloris, I remember Lloris had a few shockers, actually. Still, when Galini came in for him, Galini matched it up with his own shockers and his own style. So it kind of just made it go like, oh, well, you are going to go with Lloris no matter what. With how Forster has been playing, it really is up for a good debate there, Dave. So it makes that, you know, signing look slightly better just because, like, when you did measure, when Galini did get his chance, when Galini did come in, he made a mistake, I remember, against Chelsea in that cup game right away. And he didn't look shit. He didn't look good in the Conference League games either. He was conceding basically any shot that it felt like was, you know, hit towards his direction. It felt like, especially outside the box. So you look at a guy like Forster, who then was making key one-on-one saves, was practically keeping us in the game. How some people kind of looked at it when you really kind of measured it, makes you kind of think then that was also a better quantity sort of signing when you really look at it.
100%, Jack. And like the thing is, like when you look at the players we brought in, right, bar maybe Jed Spence, we brought in good, solid professionals. Like Jed Spence is a youngster, so I wouldn't count him in there, but we brought in good, solid professionals. So we've gone from a squad
who knew the Premier League.
We had cliques where you had the Welsh Mafia, the French Mafia, Matt Doherty on his own in the Irish Mafia. You know what I mean? You know, you had Joe Hart organising cricket sessions when we're in the middle of losing games, you know, and all the rumours coming out, there's no fitness work. So, okay, so we're in there playing cricket when they really could be doing fitness work, this, that, and the other. Like, you know, get them out the dressing room. And it's kind of like we got our squad into such a state where it was full of players with egos who thought they were better than what they were. They were sacking managers left, right, and centre. And it was just atrocious. Not really any technical ability. Steve Hutchinson got so far on. So we had to draw the slate clean. We had to start over again. We had to clear out all that shit. bring the squad down to the bare bones, start to pad it around with some good, solid professionals so that when you do bring in these superstars, there's a good, solid foundation for them to come into where it's like, okay, you want to act a dick? Hang on, we don't do that here, buddy. This is what we do here. Whereas before, any new signings we were bringing in, they were looking just as shit as the other guys because they were coming in because people were doing what they want with the clicks, excuses, this, that, and the other. You know, so whereas now, when you bring these superstars in, hopefully they settle in and settle into the Tottenham way instead of someone like an Endon Bellion or a Celso walking in here, swinging their dicks around the place, going, I'm the big boy, I got signed for the big money, I'm going to do what I want. Oh, I don't want to chase him. Go and buy Pierre-Emile Højbjerg to go and do that for me. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when we spent like 65 million euros on you, you should be doing both. But anyway, you know, it's kind of like, so it's just madness, Jack. So like, it's now we're at the point where after this, and this is where Paratici, I think Paratici's done a really good job.
This is maybe something, the way some of the points you brought up here, maybe Paratici has been given praise on this. And Dave, since we are actually the presidents of the Paratici propaganda machine, this is actually something that we probably should have maybe okayed between ourselves before here. But we've come a bit to a light bulb situation here where it does feel like maybe one of the other things that maybe had been ignored about this window is, like you maybe pointed out, I don't know what point you're about to make, but just quickly before we forget, Paratici seemed to have a bit of consistency in identifying proven, solid, and then in most cases, Premier League proven players. And it was maybe, if you are going to go for quantity, Dave, if you are going to try to achieve the quantity, that's maybe the route that you would go for. You're not just throwing in players from all over the world, etc., kind of save a deal. It's like, nope, we're going to go for veterans. We're going to go for guys who know the Premier League, who know their wits, can actually come into this team and not take 2 years, whatever, to get into it or whatever. So that's maybe something that also got ignored. That you went for kind of like, I think solid was the word you used, Dave. That was a really good word to use.
Yeah, just guys that, you know, they live right, they train right, they're in early, they're at the team meetings on time. You know, if they see someone acting the Billy Goat, kicking balls around the training pitch, they're like, hey, dickhead, go and chase that, bring it back and start doing what you're supposed to be doing. Or else I'll be chasing you, or else I'll kick you like you kicked that football. How about that? You know, someone just to bring the standards in here. But got something where the young guys can learn off as well, because they've had bad examples in years gone by. And all it's done is it stopped the youngsters from progressing. Because they haven't been able to be given the time in cup games because you're trying to play these idiots into form. So it stops our youth system from working. But not only that, Jack, it's now getting to the point where I think we've padded out the squad. I think you probably add to it with 1 or 2 in January. For me, I'm looking at the summer, Jack, where you go big. And this is where I think Paratici can really earn the praise from the Spurs fan base unanimously is identifying the right superstars, the right big money signings to come in here. Because that's where Steve Hitchen famously failed.
Right.
You know, not only did he fail
when he had the big money moves.
Not only did he fail in bringing in the cheap signings, he also failed in bringing in
the big money ones. He failed in the big money ones too.
Yeah. Whereas Paratici has, for me, I think he's got a lot right. Look, he's got some wrong. You look at Galini, but at the end of the day, it was just about getting Joe Hart out of here and bringing someone in here as a stopgap. No fee attached. Get him gone. I can understand that. But what I think Paratici has done is he's padded out the squad well. But now to earn the real praise is by bringing in them big money signings and getting them right. Because that's what's failed Tottenham before. But not only that, this is where he can really get the praise as a smooth operator in the window.
Yeah.
Nowadays, defense is the hardest thing to build. Purely because the amount of risks defenders are asked to take now from before back in the day in terms of on the ball, playing out this, that, and the other. So the defense now is going to be the hardest thing to build. If he gets that right, we know we've got the forward players. We've got really industrious, hard-working midfielders. You bring in the star players in that back line, sprinkle one maybe in the midfield if you can over the summer, maybe an extra. Well, we need an extra body in the forward line as well, somewhere along like that. But this summer is where I think the big money signings have to come in. And that's where you're talking about quality over quantity. But I trust Paratici because he got it right with Benchcore and Kulu. Not big money, but that window was about bringing in the quality over the quantity. And he got it right. So for me, I think we're at a very good position. I think we should be in an even better position coming out of this January. And this summer should be exciting. I think it's more important we do it now this summer, Jack, with Newcastle. They're going to get European football this year. They won't get Champions League, in my opinion, but they'll get some sort of European football. with the
And they'll
money
build
they can offer, they will start going bigger in the market. You've got United potentially up for sale. Their new owners will want to come in here and turn that club around and bring it back to where it was and make a statement. You've got
so this
Chelsea who
summer
just
is huge.
continue to spend big. You've got Liverpool potentially going to be sold. So if we don't if we don't start bringing in the quality and the big name guys, and we revert back to type, we
We'll
will
be
fall
stuck with
behind
very
a lot
little
of the
quality
clubs.
left. Yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
stuck with very little quality left, I believe, in the market. And I said this in the beginning of this sort of topic, and I'll probably end it here with just the same statement. I'm not saying we got this quantity sort of objective perfectly. Like I think like David and I had both been rattling on about the whole summer. The center back wasn't really properly, I think, dealt with. You look at probably now with the benefit of hindsight, maybe not there really being a real Kulusevski sort of kind of alternative in case he were to be hurt. Probably another miss there. Daniel Levy, I guess, was left with the right wing back situation, kind of made a bit of a mess of it, but we did bring one in. So that was also contributing to the quantity sort of thing. So I'm not saying it was perfect by any means. I don't think anything is. But I think there is something to be said about how they went after proven, they went after solid. And I think there is kind of something maybe to be praised about that. And
I
I
will
think that
say
was
just quickly, keep your eye on maybe signing an English player or two over January or the summer, because I'll be hedging my bets on a Doji coming in here and Session being shipped out. Um, I think it's gone to a point where there's no return for Dyer. And even if he does return and play well for 6 games, still not going to replace him because I know what's coming around the
yeah,
corner.
we know what's coming. We know
So,
what's coming in
you're
November
going
and
to
October. We
lose.
know what's coming then.
Yeah, you're going to lose some English players, and this is a balance you have to get right. If they're not in your academy, you've got to go out and buy them, and you might end up paying a bit more than what you want to, because them clubs know you need that. And like for me, that's the whole reason why Session's still here over Reguilon, because of the homegrown quota. If we didn't need that, Reguilon would have stayed. Reguilon's
Yeah,
we said this, Jack. He's so much better going forward than Session. People
yeah.
said no, 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 and now they're sitting there going, "This guy's a donkey." He's got 3 right feet on him. He's useless. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like. So I will say I would keep an eye on maybe some English players, because I do think you'll get 1 or 2 coming in here, because you're going to have that quota.
You're going to have to keep that quota. You're absolutely right. And it is something that Spurs going to have to take a look at, especially in case Sasson continues to unimpress after this. But there it is, everybody. Kind of an old topic that we didn't exactly get to, I feel like, give its true attention. And so that's what this whole podcast, I think, is for here, everybody, is sort of to allow David and myself here to maybe touch on things that we don't exactly get to really have our full say on as much as we maybe like. So hopefully you enjoyed that good little discussion there. I know I certainly did. This is a quote here from Fabrizio Romano, and he is saying, I think it was via Twitch stream of his that I actually got from Tottenham Tiers Twitter. Great Twitter to check out in case you are looking for any real sort of kind of news about Spurs that you either take seriously or don't take seriously. It's just a nice little filtered source. I see Tottenham going for a center back and potentially a midfielder. Fabrizio Romano has released. Now, what I find good about that is, thank God, center back being identified. That means that Spurs are going to go after something. And then a midfielder is where the question mark is, actually, for me. But I must say, with the center back, it does make me think, are we going to go for quality? Are we going to go for quantity? How are we going to go about it this January? Are we going to go after a Stefan de Vrij? I think a Stefan de Vrij at this stage, someone who I kind of said no to in the past, I would absolutely take him with how we've seen Sanchez and Moon Boots be playing recently. So I definitely would take him. But it is that risk again, where I feel like we went with the quantity sort of signing of Longley. I think Longley was a brilliant quantity type player. Can we maybe save some money and get after a real quality center back this January? Yes and no is how I would sort of say it, Dave. It's because the likes of Gavardiol, the likes of Bastoni, they're not available this January. Fabrizio Romano has made that very clear. I think a lot of people have made that clear who actually do know what they're talking about when it comes to sort of sources and whatnot. It feels like those type players, those big money center backs, they usually only go in the summer because it takes a lot of moving parts and it takes a lot of sort of just big money in order to make that sort of thing happen. Also, when you look at the likes of Inter Milan with Bastoni, he is Champions League Cup tied anyway. He's in the knockout rounds. With the likes of Leipzig are also in the knockout rounds, if I'm not mistaken, too. So Gavardiol, I think, is just going to be going in the summer. So it means, do we go after an Indica? Do we go after maybe a Simicon? Those sort of kind of players maybe this January. Again, Dave, I kind of feel like we have to. I feel like we do need to sign a center back no matter what. Perhaps maybe we do save a bit of money and go after a Bastoni and Gavardiol this summer, and maybe do sign that De Vrij as more of a plug-in for right now. I'd rather just continue to sign up and coming center backs that I think could build out this defense for the future. So I think you do go after a Simicon. I think you do go after an Indica, slightly riskier than I think maybe those Bastonis and those Gavardiols, but I still think will be huge improvements nonetheless. It's just sort of something with me, Dave. I'm a bit desperate when it comes to it. So I'd sign a center back, but a midfielder is also a question mark for me because it's some sort of area where I feel like we're well saturated there. We have plenty of players. I think Bentancur and Højbjerg are playing absolutely out of their skin at this moment in time. So I don't really see anybody displacing them. The only way that a midfielder gets into this team is by probably then moving out Kulusevski or something like that. And then it's like a 3-5-2. I know we need a creative midfielder. I totally get that. It is something Spurs should look at, but it's not exactly really top of my priority list. I'd rather we also go after some sort of, like we said earlier, maybe something we missed out on in the summer, an alternative to Kulusevski in case he gets hurt. So a Malinowski sort of does kind of make sense if that is the type of player that he is, a good alternative to Kulusevski in case of injury. But Dave, this sort of quote, this little snippet, and of course it happened on a stream of Fabrizio Romano's, and in true Spurs fashion, we're blowing it up as we need to and making it a huge deal about the statement of Fabrizio Romano. Anything from this kind of maybe off, I don't know, he probably just said it under his breath even at this sort of statement, but anything you could make from this?
I mean,
or anything that frustrates you? Is kind of, I probably brought up what was frustrating me about it. Anything about it that maybe?
Yeah, on the playmaker thing you said, I think I agree to a certain extent that we need a playmaker if Conte's vision is going to a three in midfield, which if we're looking for another midfielder, I think that's the case. I think he is going to look to go to three in midfield, two up front, eventually, in my opinion. But where a playmaker is at his best is when you can keep possession, first of all, Jack, because obviously you keep possession, the opposition sits back. So the whole idea as a playmaker is that he gets on the ball, he starts unlocking the doors because the opposition sit back.
Yeah.
They're not doing that to us right now.
Yeah.
They're not doing that.
Because they know they can press our center backs.
I'm not exactly sure what a playmaker is going to do for us when we can't keep the ball. And this is what I said last summer when I was arguing with people. What's a playmaker going to do when you can't get the ball to him? It's
the job of the center backs to get the job to him. It's the job of the right backs and the wing backs to get the job to him. It's not the job of the playmaker to pass it to himself.
Exactly, Jack. And in order to do that, we need to fix problems further back down the field. Now, when you're talking about a centre back, I take what you're saying by bringing in not necessarily a young guy, but a guy
we're not talking the hipster of Zabarny.
Yeah. He's got a bit of experience. He plays regularly, but he's looking for that next step up. I think
it is the next step. It is the next step.
I'm a bit dubious with this, Jack, because for me, I think we need an actual leader in that back line. When I look at that defense, there's so many things.
I'd kill for Thiago Silva. I know what you mean.
Can just be sorted out with someone who will actually scream at people. Okay, I'm moving back in here, drop back in. All it takes is a bit of talking, a bit of organization.
Yeah.
And we do not have that true leader. I don't care whether Eric Dyer picks up another 3 languages, makes it 10, and becomes even more bilingual. I do not care, Jacko. It does not make him a leader. And I'm going to keep saying this, and I've said it time and time again to one blue in the face, and I don't want to hear anyone say it to me again, by the way. Eric Dyer is not a leader. I don't care how many languages he speaks. Actions speak louder than words on the football pitch. And in fact, if he's that clever, he'd realize that the only language he doesn't understand is bloody football. So get to grips with that one first, which you're paid to do. So for me, Jacko, I want someone in here that's going to come in, command the respect of the Romeros, of a Langley beside him. Which I actually hope we take up the option to bring Langley. I think Davey's been okay. But even looking at Wales in the Euros, the way they play is so outdated. They couldn't get the ball into midfield, couldn't get it forward. Are we surprised we've seen the same at Tottenham and Ben Davies has been a part of that back line? For me, he's just not good enough on the ball. I would like to get Langley in here cheap enough. If you can't, look, I would keep Ben Davies around another season if I have to. He's not the worst. But if we can, I'd rather get him out, get in a Bastoni or Gavardio. But for me, the most important thing is bringing in a leader straight away, someone that loves defending, knows what they're doing, barking at people. But when he barks, they also have the respect to do what he tells you to do. Because I'm not being funny. If I was standing either side of Dyer and he started screaming at me, I'd look around him and say, listen, numpty, concentrate on heading the ball the right way first, instead of barking at me and trying to make me look poor in front of 60,000 when you're the one making all these mistakes, making all the 10 of us look like dog shit. So stop barking at me. So he's never going to get the respect of a Romero or a Langley to do what he asked him to do to become a leader. Plus, he's had 8 years to become it. He still hasn't become it. So that centre-back, the centre-back, has to be a guy that's going to lead. Someone that will talk, someone that will scream, someone that will lead by example on the pitch, someone that doesn't switch off, someone that stays composed, someone that knows how to make headers, someone that knows how to make tackles, someone that's not going to drop off from the halfway line all the way to his 6-yard box and go, pick which corner you want to put it in. You know? So the centre-back is crucial. Now, that's where I would like to see a De Vrij, a Skriniar, someone like that come in here. But if you're looking for a guy to take the next step up, I like that guy that Portugal brought to the World Cup, that young guy from Benfica. He looks a bit Ruben Diaz-y for me. I like him. But again, it's a big step up. I think once you bring in that leader, I think you can look at maybe bringing in one or two guys that are looking for that step up, that maybe need a little bit of nurturing before you just fling them in there. Because what I don't want to do is bring in a young guy and absolutely kill his career because of some of these other numpties around him. I don't want to do it. Do it with managers. I'm not going to start doing it with other players, especially youngsters that don't deserve it.
There's something about that because there are no real competent leaders. There are no, let's say, veteran center backs in there. Even
I do like Kim Min-jae if he's achievable anymore, but I really like what I've seen from Matt to work up.
But he would have been right. He would have been that next step up center back, and I think he would have achieved that, right? Being that next step up sort of center back. I think Kim Min-jae. But like you maybe brought up, Dave, I think it's okay to sign that type of center back, but you probably need to sign that proven center back, like you said, that leader as well. You sign a Kim Min-jae because he'll be your honestly your Van Dijk of the future, if anything. But you also want to sign, like you said, maybe a De Vrij that can be also a leader for the time being. You don't want just three youngsters back there governing themselves and trying to figure it out amongst themselves. You do want someone that has been there, done it before, and has that sort of, like I even said, what I do always appreciate about Thiago Silva is that I notice he's even telling people what to do when he gets frustrated with players. He tells them what they should have done, where they needed to be next time, after he cleans up for them, after he fixes the situation type thing. And so I do think maybe Spurs need a center back like that. And then also get a Simicon, a Kim Min-jae as well. And so it is actually, again, we find ourselves in a situation where, of course, this channel is rattling on yet again about how important those center backs are.
I'll be glad the day it's done, Jack. The day it's done, I'll be so happy. I'd be like, I don't have to argue with Tottenham fans anymore about our defense. It's done. It's done and dusted. I'd go to church, I'd light a candle, and I'd say, thank you for listening to me. There's a higher power. I appreciate it.
This is gonna quickly, because I do actually have some news that actually just came in that I do want to touch on, and then also Dave, I believe there was Dave that I think you even said at the very beginning of the show there was another topic that you also maybe wanted to touch on.
Yeah, it's just Harry Kane. It's just a quick one. I won't be long.
Yeah, I know, but I want to be considerate here because this is supposed to be our therapy session here, Dave, and it can't just be me every single time. Even though I do love that it is me mostly every time getting to pick these topics.
I enjoy this way because debate shows it's always the other way around. So this way you get, I like it this way. I like it.
But maybe let's say a bit of a palate cleanser here, Dave. Some transfer rumors: Malinowski, McKennie, Dumfries. Malinowski. Here's what I would say: a lot of people are turned off by this one, calling it a Levy signing, calling it a Tottenham signing. Here's where I stand right now, Dave. I think Kulusevski is basically already showing to be a world-class player.
Mhm.
He has that world-class ability in him. He is already showing to be one of the best Premier League wingers in just, yeah. And, he's just already one of the best Premier League wingers. You can't exactly just sign another Kulusevski and just expect him just to kind of warm the bench behind Kulusevski. I think you sign a 28-year-old, 29-year-old player like a Malinowski, who is sort of kind of looking like a team like Spurs. He's like, you know what? I'm going to be willing to sacrifice some minutes here in order to play for a team like Spurs and perhaps maybe push on a bit more, maybe play at a higher level, perhaps play for a better coach like he wants to. He wants to play for a better manager and kind of just play in a different system in a different league. I think Gasperini is absolutely brilliant over at Atalanta, but it looks like Malinowski just wants to change of scenery and he wants that sort of step up in kind of a different way, let's say. And I think that then makes sense. You go after a guy like that who's
Let
clearly
me ask you on
technically,
Malinowski there quickly,
yeah,
Jack.
sure.
Just why you mentioned signings. For you, is that more of a January signing or a summer signing? Because I would say that's a January signing. If we
Very
go into
much
the
a
summer,
January signing.
develop, yeah.
Very much a January signing. I think Spurs would have gone after probably better, if not younger, had it been the summer. It looks like they missed
Mm,
out on it. I think the reason why Malinowski makes sense for them is they're probably realizing, yep, benefit of hindsight, we needed a different option to Kulusevski. That isn't
yeah.
Lucas. That isn't Brian Hill. Malinowski fits that bill. He doesn't
Mm,
cost too much, and he's also just going to be able to plug in and do it. And he is technically good enough. Like he is, and I don't mean technically good enough in terms of my acceptance of him. I mean, quality wise on the ball, Malinowski is actually technically quality enough
mm,
to sort of maybe fill in those kind of Kulusevski type holes, which is the fact that
mm,
he has a really good left foot. He can cut inside. He can hit shots from distance, especially. That's probably something that he has that maybe Kulusevski doesn't. He's actually
mm,
has that eye for a pass. I think personally, he can also come into midfield and sort of kind of create a little bit. He is essentially a bit of a goal scoring, creative kind of winger. He's kind of has a bit of that mixed bag, kind of like Kulusevski does. So I sort of see it as a January signing that's realistic. It makes sense. I'm not going to throw my arms up about it. I think it's the last thing that people really should throw their arms up about it because we are filling in that hole. McKennie, on
mm.
the other hand, though, Dave, and I know I'm kind of wasting time here. So McKennie, I put a scout
I
report
like
on
your
it.
boy. I like
I,
him.
I'm
He
not
just needs
really
to take the
sold on
colours out of
him.
his hair and he'll be fine.
I'm not really sold on him as the, let's say, midfielder that we need. I really love Weston McKennie. I think Weston McKennie is brilliant as a box-to-box scoring midfielder. With the way that Bentancur and Højbjerg have been playing as sort of box-to-box scoring midfielders this season for us, I'm not sure if McKennie's going to displace them, and I'm not sure if he has that sort of James Madison-esque eye for a pass or anything either. So I don't know how he gets in to this team, let's say. I'd love to have him. I just don't know how much he gets into this team as, let's say, another player might if it were going for a creative midfielder. Dumfries, here's my thing. It's weird because he looks good in some occasions, and then in others, he does look clumsy and he does look bad and he does look rash and he looks a bit all over the place. Also, people that do watch him a lot, Dave, like Inter fans, flat cap people over on the flat
Mm.
cap channel who watch plenty of Serie A have not rated this guy. And when I did my Dumfries scout report a while back, I will still remember this. How many comments I got saying, no Dumfries, please, no
He's
Dumfries,
living off the
please, no
last Euros,
Dumfries.
this guy.
Yeah. And so I don't know, Dave. It's an interesting one. I would actually, funny enough, this might throw some people out of their chair here. I would be actually completely okay with Malinowski. McKennie, I would love to have him just because I love McKennie. I'm not exactly sold on what type of role he's coming in to fill or what type of job he's here to do. Dumfries, I would not be very happy about, weirdly enough. So I don't know. That
Mm.
might throw some people out of their chair if even they probably wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, Malinowski, I wouldn't turn my nose up at him, Jack. He's got good numbers in the Serie A as well. And at the end of the day, we need players that are coming in here that are technical. people are going to say, oh, where's the speed? I mean, I've seen so many players at Tottenham with all the pace you want, but the ball comes off them like it's fucking being cannoned at them from 60 feet, and they're standing there covered in concrete and it's bouncing off them. It's ridiculous. We've had all the pace in the world, and, there's no point having pace if you can't control the ball at that speed. Someone like Malinowski, I like. And plus, I think you're right, like when you said, Jack, when we were missing Kulu, and I think I said this as well, like when we were missing Kulu, everything went through Harry Kane. Creating, and he was expected to finish. Some was off form, so absolutely everything went through Harry Kane. So all defenders were doing say, okay, as soon as Tottenham get the ball, as soon as it's going in Harry Kane's direction, one get up behind him, one get in front of him, take the ball off him. How many times have you seen Kane dueling with two men, trying to keep hold of the football? Whereas when you've seen against Leeds and Cooley comes back in, and we said this before, he offers runs in behind, he offers a different outlet. He's strong enough to hold up the ball like Harry Kane, but he can also turn and beat people. So you need someone that has his sort of creativity when he gets into the final third. That final ball, that ball into the box, that bit of composure and skill and craft. And someone like Malinowski, okay, he's not the names that many people would like, but he's a solid professional. He does his job. He doesn't look for all the fanfare either. He just does his job quietly, and that's what you need around here. McKennie, I like your boy McKennie, Jacko. I think he actually brings a bit of calmness on the ball. I think he brings a lot of energy.
Yeah, you said he's confident, right? You say he's very confident on it.
Yeah, very confident. I think he's got good energy in the midfield, brings a lot of energy to it. I like the late runs he makes into the box. I've seen them at Juve at times as well. It's very not an easy thing for a midfielder to do, picking up that timing wise, and he seems to do it very, very well. Then
I think it's instinct, right? It's only natural to some
extent. Yeah. It's. I think he's got a lot of things I like. But what does he bring different to Bentancur and Højbjerg, who have also
slightly? He brings some slightly different things, but maybe not enough. That's what my whole scout report was. I was kind of like, I don't know if he brings enough different things to Højbjerg and Bentancur. Like he's not completely different, like a James Maddison or something like that.
Is he too much? Is he much different to Basuma either? I'm not so sure. And it's kind of like, I think if you're going to bring in a centre midfielder at this stage, it has to be someone that offers technical perfection going forward.
I agree.
But McKennie's one, Jack, that can really get to that sort of levels.
Yeah, he's still got a long way to go.
Runs into the box, something like a Gerrard or a Lampard had. If he can just get his shooting together in and around the box, he could become a very, very good player, McKennie. I really like him. Depends on the fee, though. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable shelling out a massive fee on him.
Yeah, neither would I.
Honestly, I'd rather persist with Emerson. This guy is absolutely living off the I think it was the Euros or the World Cup he had. Very good campaign, bombing up down for Holland. Yeah, but he's living off it. No one's spoken about him since. The only time you hear him is when he's linked to Tottenham. I'd much rather persist with Emerson. The next right wing back / right back we bring into this club, I want to be able to control the ball and pass the ball. I'm asking for the basics. I just want them to be able to do the basics, plus also defend. That would be nice.
I don't think Dumfries, some of those, I don't think Dumfries offers.
Because if you bring in a right wing back that can trap a ball and pass a ball, you already know the guy's going to be able to cross a ball because he can do the basics. So the next right wing back, I don't want someone that may or may, because with Dumfries for me, it's like he may work out, he might not work out. I don't want that. I want guaranteed. I can't take any more of this.
Not anymore at right wing back, especially. Out of all the positions, I mean, we're haunted there. We can't do it any longer. This is kind of breaking news. I don't really know what to make of this, but I figured I'd report on it, and maybe we'll put it in the title. Who knows? According to multiple Italian reports tonight, Fabio Paratici is back under investigation from authorities over the Juventus scandal with suggestions of even an arrest warrant. Here's my quick opinions here, Dave. Last time I believe this happened, it was proven that they don't really have any jurisdiction over Paratici since he is over in the UK and since his contract has been terminated with Juventus. I think the last time that they did sort of try to get him sort of involved in these sort of issues, I believe it was quite well proven that he is exempt from it in some way or another. I forget kind of the exact reason. But as well, this is probably all coming off the back of the fact that Juventus board, including Andrea Agnelli, have all resigned amid huge, I think, investigations and reports of some scandals, I think, going on financially there. Paratici, it is slightly worrying because maybe he could get involved, but I also feel like, again, someone like a Daniel Levy, someone like Tottenham, I think they do their homework on these sort of kind of guys if they're going to bring them into the club. I'm pretty sure, especially someone like Daniel Levy, wouldn't get conned by a guy like Paratici coming over to Spurs. It actually would be maybe even deserved more praise for Paratici if he was able to somehow con Daniel Levy, probably the unconnable of any sort of owners of football. The guy does his homework on everybody. But Dave, any kind of thoughts on Paratici here? I think it's always quite fun to see this come up, and it does show that the man knows how to cook a book in 1,000 different ways. And especially come January, if we are going to get a certain Weston McKennie, who knows? Maybe he'll cook the books again. But any strong opinions here on this investigation regarding Paratici? It came up last year as well.
Be honest, I secretly admire it, Jack. I kind of love that villain thing to him. I love the villain. I love him being the villain. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of like they're always circulating, aren't they? But they never nail him. They never nail him down to anything. And I sort of love that villain aspect to it. And look, is there a shade of maybe dealing this in it? Look, we probably, like, even if you look at some of the deals we got, the way we got Romero, Kulu, Bentancur at such a cheap price, Doji not being signed till, not coming in here to next season, this, that, and the other. It sort of plays along with his villainness, and I absolutely love it, and I adore it. I'm not really worried anyway, Jack. Look, even if they do come and arrest him or whatever else, thank you for improving my squad. Thank you for getting rid of Dembele. True. Thank you for getting rid of Celso. Thank you for getting rid of Joe Hart. Yeah. The only thing is, I would say to the judge, slap an extra 2 years for not getting one for Dyer, one for Sanchez. That's the only thing he didn't do right. So slap 2 years onto the sentence. But even if he gets arrested, I have a lot to thank him for.
You probably visit him in jail.
Concerned either, to be honest. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think PSG would have been circling around this guy like they were not so long ago if there was this hanging over his head. I agree with you. I would like to think that Tottenham have done their homework on this, a bit like what they've done with Bissouma. I think they have done their homework before they brought in Paratici. Yeah, can you smell what he's cooking? The books. Love it. But Fabio, what I will say, Jack, is that guy at Juve, Agnelli, he was the big driving force behind the European Super League. So I wonder, will that be scrapped now? And that's just dead in the water because he's walking away. But he's also walking away because he knows the financial troubles that are coming Juve's way, by the way. That's why he's doing it.
It's not very good when the major drivers behind the European Super League are Juventus and Barcelona, two teams that are in absolute free fall at this moment in time. No wonder they want it. But yeah, Paratici, if you're in Turin or Milan jail, just let us know if you need anything over from the UK or anything. David and I'd be happy to bring it over. We'll be happy to, get us your postal code as well. Be sending the letters with kissy faces, all that sort of thing. Dave, you have about a minute and a half to talk about Harry Kane in England, maybe, and then we'll wrap it up because this is the end of the podcast. And everybody, this has been brilliant that we've been able to cover this much time with whatever's been out there with Spurs. But Dave, I know you want to talk about Harry Kane really quickly, and being the jerk I am, I'm affording you a minute.
Look, I've always said I do see Harry Kane in a certain period of his career maybe dropping a bit back like Wayne Rooney done, but I think more in a creative way, of a calm way. And when I look at Kane, it's just kind of like this season, times last season, and especially for England, he doesn't get himself into scoring positions or make them runs in behind like he used to under Pochettino. He's now more of a guy that holds up the ball, gets turned and play others in. And I'm just thinking going forward, Tottenham need to bring in another striker to compete with Richarlison up top. And it's now time to maybe drop Harry Kane a little bit deeper. So if you haven't spent that money on a creative midfielder, just play Harry Kane and let him play them De Bruyne-esque passes. Because I look at him, I don't think he wants to do that running in behind, that endless running or that endless chasing around anymore up top. And B, I just don't, I think, look, he's had a lot of ankle injuries. He's playing down there in them lower leagues also puts a lot of wear and tear on your body. He had 8 or 9 loans down there. I just think when I look at Kane, it's getting to the point that yard of pace that he's not blessed with pace, but maybe that yard of pace he did have, that burst that initially gets you away, I'm not sure is there anymore. When you look at him, it's more he's holding people off with strength now more than getting
Hmm?
away from them. And I just wonder after this season, is it time to maybe look at bringing him back and getting someone else up there to do that job?
Maybe a big Richie could do it. You
And
never
no one
know.
ever thought I'd say that, by the way.
No,
Suck, that's how I
I was
feel.
gonna say, Dave. I honestly, I can't wait
What
for
do you
that
think,
to be
though, Jack?
ignored.
Just quickly.
I can't wait for that to be ignored. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, what do you think of what I have to say there, just quickly?
Oh, Dave, I thought it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But I only have 15 seconds left here because I do want to keep it under
Tell
an
me
hour.
after.
But I
Tell me
can't wait
after.
to talk. Yeah, I will. But everybody, hit that like button on your way out. Tell us if you enjoy these podcasts and all that good stuff. We will be seeing you, you beautiful people. Come
Come
on,
on,
you
you
Spurs.